Close your eyes, breathe slow, and picture the long, dark spine of the Appalachians stretching from Alabama to Maine, forest upon forest, ridge after ridge. You're warm, you're safe, and I'm going to tell you what makes these mountains so quietly unnerving, like an empty road where your headlights find nothing and everything at once. Fact 1. An ancient spine. You're listening to one of the oldest mountain systems on Earth. The Appalachians rose long before the dinosaurs, their bones worn soft by time. That age means caves, fractures, and hollows run deep more places to get lost than you could count in a lifetime. Fact 2. Hollers that swallow sound. Narrow valleys' hollers can trap fog and twist echoes. Shouts bounce in odd directions so you think help is left when it's really right. At night, a whip-poor-will can sound like it's circling you when it's perched on one stubborn limb above an old fence line. Fact 3. The blank patch in your phone. Miles and miles of ridgelines still have no signal. A wrong turn in a rhododendron thicket becomes hours of wandering. If you're hurt, the only thing that hears you is the creek working its way downhill. Fact 4. Winter solitude. In cold months, you can hike for days on side trails and never see another person. It is beautiful, and it is unsettling the way your boot crunches on ice, the way the wind keeps its own counsel between naked trees. Fact 5. Black bears that watch. Black bears live here in steady numbers. Attacks are rare, but they've happened even fatal ones in these mountains. Most nights, you'll never see them. You'll only hear brush exhale and feel that odd certainty you're being regarded by intelligent eyes. Fact 6. Venom under leaves. Timber rattlesnakes and copperheads coil where sun warms stone. Their camouflage is perfect along old rock walls, and the first you'll know is the insect buzz of a rattle or a sudden flash of movement between your shoe and the moss. Fact 7. Weather that turns on you. A clear day can flip. The Appalachians catch systems like a net. Up high, temperatures plunge and fog arrives like smoke. On certain peaks, wind will take your voice away from your lips and scatter it like chaff. Fact 8. Lightning on the high crowns. Balds and summits Mount Mitchell. Clingman's Dome, Mount Rogers, wear storms like iron caps. Lightning finds them easily. A blue flash, a cracking report, and somewhere, a tree spirals open like a peeled orange. Fact 9. Cliffs that don't forgive. Gorges Linville, the Red River, Obed cut hard and sudden. A step off a damp ledge can be the last step you take. Rescue teams here know the routes by heart because slips happen, again and again. Fact 10. Pits without bottoms. Karst country on the Appalachian Plateau hides sinkholes and vertical caves. In places like Tag, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, a single misstep at a pit lip is hundreds of feet straight down through cold air that never sees the sun. Fact 11. Mines under your feet. Abandoned mine works honeycomb the hills. A harmless-looking depression might be a rotten timber away from a drop. In autumn, warm air rising out of concealed adits can curl leaves into little spirals at your boots. Fact 12. Orange streams. Acid mine drainage bleeds from old seams and turns creeks the color of rust. The water looks alive, but carries a quiet chemistry that scours fish from entire reaches and stains rocks as if someone painted the stream bed and never came back. Fact 13. The house gas with no smell. Radon seeps from Appalachian bedrock. It's odorless. It's invisible. It collects in basements and crawl spaces silent as dust unless someone checks. Many never do. Fact 14. The worst mine day. The deadliest coal mining disaster in U.S. history happened in these hills, an explosion that took hundreds of lives in a single morning. The ground closed over the story, and the story stayed, written in headstones. Fact 15. A modern blast that shook a state. In the 21st century, a mine explosion in West Virginia ended dozens of lives and lit the night sky like a false sunrise. Regulations improved. Families still keep the photos on the mantle. Fact 16. 12 that didn't come home. A winter cave-in brought rescuers, lights, and cameras to the mouth of a mountain. Rumors of survival rippled through the crowd like heat, then broke. The bells rang anyway. Fact 17. A black wave in a narrow valley. A coal waste dam failed and turned a West Virginia creek into a wall of dark water, tearing houses from foundations and carrying people away in the pre-dawn. Survivors still watch the sky when rain piles up behind the ridges. Fact 18. A bridge that let go. In the late 1960s, a bridge spanning the cold Ohio in an Appalachian river town failed at rush hour. Dozens died. Stories of strange sightings nearby before the fall refused to die with it. Fact 19. Dust like glass in the lungs. In the 1930s, a tunnel project drove through rocks so full of silica that workers' lungs turned to stone. Hundreds died. Many were buried in unmarked graves because there were too many names to read aloud. Fact 20. A fire that eats a town from below. In Pennsylvania's coal country, a seam caught fire and kept burning year after year. Streets buckled, houses were abandoned. The zip code vanished, and the smoke never quite did. Fact 21. Bloody Harlan. In the Kentucky hills, miners and deputies traded gunfire over wages and dignity. The Union came like a promise and like a curse. Men died on porches and in the roadbed dust. The mountains remember their names even when the signs rust away. Fact 22. The Battle of Blair Mountain. In West Virginia, thousands of armed miners marched against mine guards and strikebreakers in 1921. It was one of the largest labor uprisings in U.S. history. The ridgelines rang with rifle fire until federal troops stepped in and the hills went quiet again. Fact 23. A feud that became a legend. Along the Tug Fork between West Virginia and Kentucky, two families turned grudges into funerals. The feud breathed like a living thing and has never quite stopped being told in the same careful half-whisper people use for storms. Fact 24. A ghost on the witness stand. In Greenbrier County, a mother said her daughter's spirit told her how she died. The tale wound its way into a real courtroom and a real conviction. Skeptics frown, locals nod. Either way, a gravestone bears a strange word: murdered. Fact 25. The thing with wings. In the 1960s, people around a western West Virginia town reported a huge shape in the sky, eyes bright like road flares. After a bridge failed and took dozens of lives, the sightings became part of a story that refuses to sit still. Fact 26. Lights that come and go. On a North Carolina ridge, pale orbs float and drift, coming and going without pattern. Scientists test and shrug, hikers point and whisper, and families bring lawn chairs to watch the hillside breathe light like a sleeping animal. Fact 27. A circle where nothing grows. Deep in the Carolina woods, there's a bald spot that stays bald. People camp in the ring and report dreams that feel like warnings. Dogs don't like it. Some say a heavy foot walks there when no one's awake to see. Fact 28. The one they called Spearfinger. In Cherokee stories, an old woman made of stone lured children with a grandmother's voice and took what she wanted with a finger sharp as obsidian. Folklore? Yes, but folklore born on these slopes and carried valley to valley by firelight. Fact 29. The Moon-Eyed People. Some Cherokee traditions speak of a pale folk who shunned daylight and kept to caves. They come up in stories the way thunderstorms do in July, sudden and hard to predict, then gone, leaving you to wonder what you really saw. Fact 30. The Wampus shape in the timber. A cat-like thing with bright eyes and a long body is said to stalk the southern woods. Hunters follow it with their talk more than their dogs. Pride and fear make the same shape in the air. Fact 31. Violence on the long footpath. The Appalachian Trail is mostly kindness, but there have been murders and attacks along its quiet miles, which is its own special chill that evil can walk softly in a place built for gentleness. Fact 32. The boy who vanished. In the Smokies, a child stepped off the edge of a family picnic and into fog. Searches fanned across ridges and gulfs. The mountains kept their answer. Some stories end by refusing to end. Fact 33. A lost hiker's last pages. In Maine's deep woods, a woman left the trail and never found it again. Her journal was found later, careful and heartbreaking. The forest had no malice, only endlessness. Fact 34. Two women in a green valley. In Virginia's high country, two campers were killed within sight of a smiling park sign and a well-used trail. The mountains absorbed the candles and flowers and then went on being mountains. Fact 35. A murderer who came back. Near a shelter in Virginia, a man killed two hikers in the early 1980s, served time, and years later attacked again. The trail, forgiving as it is, remembers where the shelters are, and so did he. Fact 36. The scenic road that knows secrets. The Blue Ridge Parkway runs like a ribbon along the spine of the hills. Its pull-offs and overlooks have found things in the dawn. The view is beautiful. The view is patient. Fact 37. Floods that rise in an hour. These narrow valleys make floodwaters stack like books. In eastern Kentucky and southwest Virginia, sudden storms have carried houses into low branches and turned porches into rafts. The water falls quiet and leaves a ring of mud at shoulder height. Fact 38. The mountain with the worst moods. Far to the north in the White Mountains, a peak holds one of the fiercest wind records ever measured on land. Summer can flash to winter in a quarter hour. The mountain doesn't care what month the calendar thinks it is. Fact 39. Cemeteries that moved. Mostly. When big dams rose in the 20th century, valleys filled with water, and towns slipped beneath new lakes. Families were told graves were moved. Most were. Not all. Fishermen tell you this with a flat voice and a tighter grip on the oar. Fact 40. Communities drowned to light other homes. Reservoirs with names like Fontana and Norris turned busy farmsteads into deep, cold silence. A church steeple under a blue lake is a pleasant postcard. A bell you think you heard at dusk is something else. If you're drifting now, let the words keep watch. The mountains aren't trying to scare you. They're just telling the truth slowly, the way creeks do over rock, around logs, and always downhill until it finds you asleep. The ridges are darker now, like folded wings against the stars. Every hollow carries a story. Every creek runs over bones of something you won't see in daylight. Tonight, we move further in. Fact 41. The Devil's Tramping Ground. In North Carolina, there's a circle where nothing grows. Locals say the devil himself paces there at night, wearing the ground bare as he plots mischief. Place a heavy object in the circle, they say, and by morning, it's been hurled aside. Fact 42. Brown Mountain's strange lights. For over a century, witnesses on the Blue Ridge have described glowing orbs drifting up from the ridges. They flicker, hover, and vanish without sound. Some say they're spirits, others swamp gas, but no one's explanation has stayed steady. Fact 43. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. Throughout the Appalachian backroads, stories repeat. Drivers pick up a young woman on a rainy night. She asks for a ride home. By the time they arrive, the seat is empty and the passenger has dissolved into memory. Fact 44. Ghost towns beneath the trees. Company towns once lined the coal valleys. When the seams played out, whole populations left overnight. Now, only empty schools and skeletal tipples stand in the vines, creaking like ships at anchor. Fact 45. The drowned train. In some Appalachian lakes, divers report locomotives still resting on the bottom hole engines and cars swallowed by floodwaters when valleys were dammed. A silent station with no timetable, only silt and fish. Fact 46. A fire that still whispers. The Great Smoky Mountains saw wildfires in recent years that ate homes and hillsides alike. Survivors say the roar sounded alive, like thousands of voices at once. Some never rebuilt, leaving charred shells behind. Fact 47. An empty ski resort. High in the Virginias, abandoned resorts sit quiet, chairlifts rusting, lodges shuttered, slopes grown over. On winter nights, winds move through broken rafters like sighs. Skiers don't come back, but the snow always does. Fact 48. The Witch's Cave. Legends tell of women accused of witchcraft who fled to Appalachian caves. One in Kentucky is said to hold carvings that glow faintly when wet. Locals won't go far inside, especially in winter. Fact 49. The Haint Paint. Old porches in the southern Appalachians were painted sky blue to ward off wandering spirits called haints. The tradition persists. Step onto one of those porches at dusk, and you'll wonder what it's keeping out. Fact 50. The Phantom Train. Railroaders used to tell of ghost trains echoing through mountain passes, headlights without engines, whistles with no crew. Sometimes, the sounds came right before a wreck on the same line. Fact 51. The Serpent Under the Ridge. Cherokee and Shawnee stories speak of Uktena, a great horned serpent that slides through rivers and hollows. It was said to guard jewels of power, and anyone who saw it rarely lived long enough to speak. Fact 52. Strange footsteps in snow. In remote ridges of New England's Appalachians, prints have appeared after storms huge, human-like, and vanishing into cliffs. Locals mutter about the woods devil, or worse. The snow always covers them again, but not fast enough. Fact 53. A tunnel that screams. In Virginia, a collapsed train tunnel entombed workers a century ago. At night, people say they hear picks ringing, muffled shouts, or even the shriek of wheels on rails that were buried long ago. Fact 54. A singing river. The French Broad in North Carolina has been said to hum when fog lies heavy on it. Some insist it's natural resonance. Others won't fish it after sundown. Fact 55. The Cave of Bones. Cavers in Tennessee stumbled into a chamber piled with skeletal remains of animals and at least one human. No one could agree on how they all got there. The cave mouth has since collapsed, but the memory stays. Fact 56. Wild men of the woods. Before Bigfoot became common talk, Appalachian papers printed tales of hairy, foul-smelling, wild men, seen along ridges and riverbanks. Hunters gave chase, only to hear screams that froze their marrow. Fact 57. A house that burns itself. In West Virginia, one farmhouse was reported to catch fire again and again, despite repairs and rebuilding. Locals said the land itself rejected the structure. Eventually, the family left, and the field grew up in weeds. Fact 58. The girl in the window. In certain Appalachian towns, people report seeing a pale child's face in the upstairs windows of abandoned houses. Police find nothing. The glass stays dusty except for one clear oval where something pressed its forehead. Fact 59. The endless knock. Deep hollers sometimes carry the sound of wood knocking 3 strikes, then silence. Hunters know it well, but explanations differ. Some say it's other hunters. Some say it's something warning you not to go further. Fact 60. The empty campfire. Rangers occasionally find warm ashes in campsites, miles from any trail. No footprints, no tents, no gear. Just a smoldering circle of stone, as if someone was there until a moment before. The night deepens over the ridges. The trees stand like watchmen, and every story feels closer now, like a shadow brushing the tent wall. Fact 61. The phantom miner. In some abandoned West Virginia shafts, workers swore they saw a figure still swinging a pick, long after the lights went out. His lamp glowed faintly, even when the batteries in real lamps had gone dead. Fact 62. The stone baby carvings. Hidden in Tennessee woods, small crude statues of infants have been found near caves. No one claims them. Hunters stumble across them in circles, as if arranged for someone or something that never shows itself. Fact 63. A church that screams. In a hollow of Kentucky, locals avoid the ruins of an old clapboard church. At night, people say they've heard hymns sung in voices too many for an empty building, the sound leaking out through broken windows. Fact 64. The white things. Folklore in the Central Appalachians describes pale, shapeless beasts, half human, half fog, that stalked lonely roads at night. Old papers reported them as if they were real. Some said they could melt back into mist. Fact 65. The haunted school bus. In rural Virginia, an abandoned school bus rests in the trees. Hunters leave it alone, saying it's unlucky. Teens who dared to spend the night inside spoke of voices whispering from under the seats. Fact 66. The hillside graveyard. Graves in mountain cemeteries often tilt down steep slopes. Rain exposes old bones, sliding them downhill. Families quietly rebury what the mountain spits out, but sometimes not everything is gathered again. Fact 67. The well that moans. An old stone well in North Carolina is said to echo with voices when the moon is new. Toss a rock down, and you'll never hear it hit bottom, just a hollow sigh that rises like breath. Fact 68. The Screaming Bridge. A bridge in Ohio's foothills is rumored to echo with the cries of a woman who leapt long ago. Drivers who stop sometimes hear footsteps on their roofs before speeding away. Fact 69. A curse in the soil. Some homesteads in the coal country were abandoned because crops failed year after year. Elders whispered of blood spilled on that ground long ago. Even today, weeds die in patches there, leaving raw dirt like scars. Fact 70. Strange music on ridges. Hikers in the Smokies and the Monongahela have reported faint fiddle tunes drifting through trees. With no camps or cabins nearby, the sound stops the moment you call out. Fact 71. The drowned town's bell. In certain Appalachian lakes, fishermen at night claim to hear a bell tolling deep beneath the water church bells from towns that were flooded decades ago when dams were built. Fact 72. The Lantern Man. In mountain mining towns, people tell of a ghostly man with a lantern wandering tracks at night. He's said to be looking for his missing crew. The light flickers, then vanishes. Fact 73. the Laughing Cave. A limestone cave in Kentucky is said to produce faint laughter if you whisper inside. Scientists call it acoustics. Locals say something down there thinks your fear is funny. Fact 74, the Widow's Cabin. A collapsed cabin in Virginia is remembered as the home of a widow who died waiting for her husband to return from war. People camping near it say they've seen her lantern swinging through the trees. Fact 75, the Old Dolls. In some hollers, abandoned farmhouses still contain dolls left behind decades ago. Their glass eyes cloud with mildew, but sometimes they appear moved from where explorers last saw them. Fact 76, the Headless Dog. Legends in the Carolinas speak of a huge black dog that roams crossroads, headless yet growling. Travelers who've met it often fell ill within days. Fact 77, the Oxbow Grave. Floods sometimes scour riverbanks and uncover forgotten graves, coffins breaking open in oxbows. Locals rebury them quickly, without fanfare, as if speaking of it out loud gives the river ideas. Fact 78, the Whispering Tunnels. Railroad tunnels in the mountains carry more than echoes. People say if you stop halfway inside, you'll hear whispers, not the bounce of your own breath, but words you can't quite catch. Fact 79, strange claw marks. High on Appalachian ridges, hikers find claw marks gouged into stone, not wood. Too wide for a bear, too deep for frost. They look fresh, though no one saw what made them. Fact 80, the unclaimed shoes. Rangers sometimes find single shoes on trails, sturdy hiking boots. Children's sneakers placed neatly on rocks, with no sign of struggle. Owners are rarely found. The air is thinner now, the woods quieter. Every ridge feels older, every shadow sharper. You're safe where you are, but the stories walk these mountains like old companions. The night feels older now. Every ridge is a black wave, every hollow a mouth that holds secrets. The stories keep coming, steady as the wind moving through the pines. Fact 81, the Blue Mist. In the Great Smoky Mountains, hikers often report a strange blue mist that clings to the valleys. Scientists point to humidity and light refraction, but old tales say the mist itself is alive, watching those who wander too far. Fact 82, the Crying Baby. On back roads in North Carolina and Virginia, drivers have pulled over after hearing what sounded like a baby crying in the woods. No child is ever found. Locals warn that if you follow the sound, you don't always return. Fact 83, the Lost Cemetery. Flood control projects in Appalachia often forced families to move entire graveyards. But not every grave was accounted for. Construction workers sometimes unearthed bones decades later, in fields where no headstones stood. Fact 84, the mutilated livestock. Farmers deep in hollers have woken to find their livestock killed in ways no predator could manage surgically precise. With no tracks in the mud, coyotes get the blame, but some say it feels like something else prowls these valleys. Fact 85, the Eternal Flame. A natural gas seep in New York's portion of the mountains burns endlessly in a waterfall cave. The flame is small, but legends say it's a portal to something beneath the ground, something that prefers its door left open. Fact 86, the Howling Ridge. Hunters in Pennsylvania tell of ridges that howl in storm winds like a living throat. Sometimes, the howls continue even when the air is still. Fact 87, the Vanishing Villages. Some coal camps, once full of life, disappeared without a trace. Maps still show their names, but roads lead to nothing. It's as if the mountains reclaimed them overnight. Fact 88, the Footsteps on Porches. In rural hollers, families tell of footsteps circling porches at night, slow, heavy, measured. When they open the door, nothing is there. Dogs whine and refuse to step outside. Fact 89, the Weeping Statues. Certain old Appalachian cemeteries have angel statues that are said to weep moisture even in drought. People who touch the tears sometimes report sudden illness or misfortune. Fact 90, the Haunted Mine Car. Abandoned coal mines often contain rusted mine cars. Explorers have reported hearing them rattle and roll as if pushed by invisible hands. The tracks, of course, are twisted and broken. Fact 91, the Black Forest of Appalachia. Sections of West Virginia forest are so dense with spruce and hemlock that sunlight barely touches the floor. Hikers call them black forests. Compass needles spin there, and some say the silence feels suffocating. Fact 92, the Bloodstained Rock. Near old battlefields, large boulders sometimes hold red stains that rain never washes away. Some locals swear these are rocks that drank too much blood to ever be clean. Fact 93. The silent bells. Churches abandoned in mining towns often still have their steeples. At night, some report hearing the bells ring, though the ropes have rotted away and the bells themselves hang cracked. Fact 94. The lost girls of the mountain. In the 19th century, multiple cases tell of young women who disappeared from cabins or farms, with no tracks found. Families whispered about witches, or about the forest simply taking who it wanted. Fact 95. The shrieking woods. Certain Appalachian woods are known for sudden shrieks, so loud they silence birds and freeze hikers. Scientists suggest cougars. Locals say the sound is wrong for any animal they know. Fact 96. The coffin birth. In Appalachian folklore, there are stories of pregnant women buried who later gave birth underground, as gases forced infants into the coffin lid. Gravediggers claim to have opened such boxes. Fact 97. The eternal widow. In coal towns, people speak of a woman in black who appears on porches after mining accidents. She never knocks, just stands, waiting. Families know her as a bad omen. Fact 98. The drowned horses. Stories from the Tennessee Valley Authority projects describe panicked horses trapped when floodwaters rose. Some residents claim they still hear splashing hooves under certain lakes. Fact 99. The cannibal tale. Among mountain folklore, whispers of families driven to cannibalism in harsh winters persist. Caves have been found with bones scarred by knives. Official history denies it, but the stories live on. Fact 100. The hollow laughter. Deep in certain Appalachian caves, explorers report bursts of hollow laughter echoing through passages. It never repeats, never responds, and no source is found. The mountains don't rush their stories. They unspool them like fog, one after another, until you forget where the real trail ended. The ridges seem endless. The deeper you walk, the quieter the world becomes, until every fact feels like a whisper meant only for those who dare to listen. Fact 101. The mountain that eats planes. Appalachian peaks, especially in the Smokies and Blue Ridge, have claimed dozens of aircraft over the decades. Crashes in fog left wreckage scattered in rhododendron thickets. Some wrecks still rest there, rusting in silence, too remote to salvage. Fact 102. The Greenbrier Ghost. In 1897, Elva Heaster's mother testified in court that her daughter's spirit visited her, revealing she'd been murdered. The testimony helped convict her husband. It remains the only U.S. case where a ghost's words were used as legal evidence. Fact 103. The Lost Hunters. Every fall, hunters vanish in Appalachian woods. Some are later found frozen, curled under trees as if hiding. Others are never found. Their rifles are discovered, leaned against trunks, unfired. Fact 104. The Parkersburg Poltergeist. In West Virginia, a farmhouse in the 1800s was plagued with stones falling inside rooms, furniture moving, and voices calling names. Families fled, leaving it to rot. Fact 105. The Drowned Prisoners. When some TVA dams were built, prison laborers were used to clear valleys. Local rumors insist not all were removed before the waters rose. Divers claim to have seen shackles in the silt. Fact 106. The Brown Recluse. These reclusive spiders hide in woodpiles and cabins across the Appalachians. Their bites can rot flesh down to the bone. They thrive in abandoned coal company houses, where children sometimes still wander. Fact 107. The Witch's Grave. Several Appalachian cemeteries have tilted headstones marked with crescent moons, believed by some to be the resting places of witches. People leave offerings at night. Others refuse to walk near them at all. Fact 108. The Missing Hiker of Clingman's Dome. Stories persist of a hiker who disappeared on Clingman's Dome in the Smokies. A search party found no body, only his backpack propped neatly on a boulder, as if waiting for him to return. Fact 109. The Phantom Fiddler. Near old battlefields in Virginia, visitors sometimes hear fiddle music drifting through fields at night. Soldiers once played to keep up courage. Now, the tune is said to play when storms gather. Fact 110. The flooded cemeteries of Norris Lake. When Norris Dam was built, the Tennessee Valley Authority claimed to relocate thousands of graves. Locals later found coffins rising from the mud as waters dropped during drought. Fact 111. The Ghost Train of Thurmond. In the abandoned coal town of Thurmond, West Virginia, visitors swear they hear trains at night, whistles, wheels, shouts, though the rails have been quiet for decades. Fact 112. The Singing Grave. In Kentucky, one grave became famous because its carved headstone produced a ringing tone when struck. Visitors believed it was the voice of the dead within. Eventually, the stone was broken by vandals. Fact 113. The Vanishing Hitchhiker of Route 2. Drivers in West Virginia describe picking up a weary traveler on the roadside. He gives directions, then disappears before reaching his destination. Witnesses describe him in identical detail, years apart. Fact 114. The Phantom Mine Whistle. In coal towns long since abandoned, residents report hearing mine whistles blow at dawn calls to work for men who have been dead a century. Fact 115. The Bell Witch Connection. Though most famous in Tennessee's flatlands, stories of the Bell Witch's reach stretch into the Appalachian hills, where families claim to be harassed by unseen forces after mocking the legend. Fact 116. The Mutilated Deer. Hunters sometimes stumble on deer carcasses, too cleanly cut to be killed by predators, organs removed, no blood trail. Some blame poachers. Others mutter about things in the dark. Fact 117. The Lonely Howls. Coyotes now roam Appalachia in packs, their howls mixing with stray dog calls. But sometimes, the howls carry a pitch too high, too long. Old hunters say, "That ain't coyote." Fact 118. The Abandoned Hospitals. Dozens of shuttered sanatoriums dot the Appalachian states, built for tuberculosis patients in the early 1900s. Inside, paint peels and gurneys rust. Paranormal teams report voices echoing through wards where thousands once coughed their last. Fact 119. The Hanging Tree. Some old oaks in the mountains were used for executions by law or by mob. Local children are warned never to play beneath their limbs, for fear of shadows that swing long after sunset. Fact 120. The Crying Statue of Fayette. In West Virginia, a cemetery statue of a woman clutching a child was said to weep blood on certain nights. People chipped away pieces as charms until the entire monument was destroyed. The Appalachians don't separate myth from fact. They keep both in the same hollow, side by side, as though the truth is just another kind of ghost. The night is thick as velvet now. Somewhere in the Black Ridges, owls call. The air feels ancient, and the stories keep unfolding like stones rolling loose on a mountainside. Fact 121. The Ghost Lights of Joppa. In Tennessee, strange lantern-like lights drift along old wagon roads. Locals call them the Joppa Lights. Some say they're restless spirits of travelers who never reached home. Fact 122. The Lost Miners of Clinchfield. In the early 1900s, dozens of miners vanished in a collapse. Some believe they escaped and wandered into the woods. Others say you can still hear their picks deep underground on quiet nights. Fact 123. The Boone County Witch. Kentucky lore speaks of a witch who cursed the valley before she died. Farmers swore their milk soured overnight and their cattle fell ill after her burial. Her grave was chained shut to keep her in. Fact 124. The Haunted Sanatorium in Asheville. An abandoned TB hospital still looms above the city. Explorers report hearing coughing in the empty wards, and sometimes doors slam in rooms where no wind should reach. Fact 125. The Unsolved Axe Murders. Several Appalachian towns suffered brutal axe murders in the early 20th century. Though suspects were arrested, many cases remain unsolved. Families whispered that evil itself walked the tracks at night. Fact 126. The Phantom Footsteps of Harper's Ferry. Civil War soldiers still march in Harper's Ferry, locals claim. Tourists often report footsteps in empty barracks, as if an army still lingers, waiting for orders. Fact 127. The drowned village of Fontana. When Fontana Lake filled, entire communities vanished beneath the water. Old-timers remember homes, schools, and even a post office. Fishermen sometimes claim to see roofs under the surface when the water is low. Fact 128. The Phantom Riders. Horseback riders in full Civil War garb have been spotted on foggy trails in Virginia. Witnesses insist the figures vanish when approached. Fact 129. The Scalped Ghost. Cherokee tales tell of warriors scalped in battle who wander the mountains, their cries sharp as the wind. Some say hearing them is a warning not to disturb the land. Fact 130. The Cursed Road. In parts of West Virginia, locals avoid certain mountain back roads at night. Cars break down without cause. Some drivers report waking up parked miles away with no memory of driving. Fact 131. The Phantom Funeral. In mountain folklore, seeing a ghostly funeral procession pass at night is an omen that someone nearby will soon die. Lanterns bob in silence, and figures vanish at crossroads. Fact 132. The Haunted Coal Tipple. Abandoned coal processing towers echo with metallic bangs. Locals say they've seen shadows climb the conveyor belts, though no one dares go near. Fact 133. The Appalachian Wild Man. Before Bigfoot became a household name, newspapers in the 1800s reported sightings of shaggy wild men in the mountains, described as part human, part beast, stealing food and frightening families. Fact 134. The Cursed Family Tree. Some Appalachian families claim their bloodline is cursed. Every generation loses someone young to accidents in the mines, floods, or war. Their graveyards show patterns too precise to dismiss. Fact 135. The Drowned Children of Clay County. A school bus plunged into floodwaters decades ago. Children inside were trapped. Locals say on stormy nights, you can still hear splashing and cries near the river bend. Fact 136. The Wampus Cat Scream. Tales of the Wampus Cat describe a feline creature with a woman's face. Its scream paralyzing hunters. Some swear they've heard it echoing across lonely hollers at night. Fact 137. The Poisoned Wells. In the coal fields, abandoned mines leach sulfur and heavy metals into groundwater. Some wells run red or orange, tasting like rust. Generations drank from them before anyone understood the sickness it spread. Fact 138. The Phantom Preacher. In West Virginia, an old preacher was said to walk trails, warning travelers of danger. Many ignored him, only to find accidents ahead. Witnesses claim he vanished in mid-sentence. Fact 139. The Ghost of Saltville. During the Civil War battle at Saltville, wounded black Union soldiers were massacred. Locals say the screams still echo in the valley, and shadows run when there is no one there. Fact 140. The Cursed Iron Furnaces. Ruins of 19th century iron furnaces dot the Appalachian foothills. Workers died in explosions, molten metal spilling like fire. Visitors report feeling overwhelming dread near the crumbling stacks. The night is quiet, but not empty. Every hollow is filled with echoes. Every ridge lined with memories, some carved in stone, others whispered in fog. The Appalachians grow stranger the deeper you listen. Every shadow hides a rumor, every creek carries an echo, and the mountains seem to lean closer, as if to hear their own secrets told. Fact 141. The Phantom Drummer. During the Revolutionary War, troops in Virginia reported hearing a phantom drummer boy keeping time at night. Some soldiers swore the rhythm came from the ridges, though no one was seen. Fact 142. The Hidden Caves of Kentucky. Kentucky's karst landscape hides tens of thousands of caves. Many remain unexplored. In some, cavers report bones scattered deep underground animal, sometimes human, with no clear story of how they got there. Fact 143. The Poisoned Air of Mines. Coal mines often filled with methane gas. A single spark could kill dozens. Families at the surface sometimes heard muffled booms and knew instantly their loved ones were gone. Fact 144. The Man in Black of Virginia. Folklore in certain valleys speaks of a tall man in a wide-brimmed hat, always dressed in black, who appears silently on back roads. When drivers stop, he's gone. Fact 145. The Sunken Church of Cheat Lake. In West Virginia, divers report the remains of a church resting on the bottom of a reservoir. Some claim to have heard bells when swimming above it. Fact 146. The Cursed Theater. An old Appalachian playhouse is rumored to be haunted by actors who died in a fire. Patrons say they've seen figures on stage long after the building closed. Fact 147. The Moon-Eyed Legend. Cherokee stories tell of pale, round-eyed people who only came out at night. Some believe they were an ancient tribe driven into caves. Others say they still watch from the shadows. Fact 148. The Phantom Ship on the Ohio. River travelers have told of a ghostly steamboat gliding silently at night, only to vanish into mist. Witnesses describe lanterns swinging, with no sound of water breaking. Fact 149. The Cave-ins of Harlan. Entire communities in Kentucky were shaken awake by mine collapses that swallowed men whole. Families gathered at the portals to hear nothing but silence and falling rock. Fact 150. The Children's Laughter. Explorers of abandoned Appalachian schools have reported the sound of children laughing in empty hallways. Sometimes, chalk messages appear on blackboards overnight. Fact 151. The Burning Tree. In parts of North Carolina, old trees have been found still smoking days after lightning strikes without flame. Locals whisper that some trees never stop burning inside. Fact 152. The Hungry Winter of 1917. Blizzards trapped Appalachian families in remote cabins. Local accounts describe entire households starving, some resorting to boiling leather or eating pets to survive. Fact 153. The Phantom Riders of the Blue Ridge. Motorcyclists on Skyline Drive report hearing engines roar behind them at night, only to see nothing when they check their mirrors. Fact 154. The Singing Bridge. An old iron bridge in Kentucky hums when crossed at night. Engineers blame vibration. Locals say it's the voices of those who drown beneath it. Fact 155. The Black Dogs of the Crossroads. Travelers in Appalachia sometimes describe massive black dogs appearing at crossroads. They vanish if confronted, but their eyes are said to glow red in lantern light. Fact 156. The Lost Settlement of Roaring Fork. Cabins in the Smokies were left behind when the park was established. Rangers say some nights you can see candlelight flickering in windows, though no one lives there now. Fact 157. The Coal Seam Fire. In eastern Kentucky, a coal seam once caught fire and burned for decades underground. People reported warmth rising from the soil, even in winter snows. Fact 158. The Stranger in the Shelter. On the Appalachian Trail, hikers tell of meeting a silent man in shelters who stares but never speaks. When they wake in the morning, he's gone, leaving no sign. Fact 159. The Lightning Strike of Mount Mitchell. At 684 feet, Mount Mitchell is the tallest Appalachian peak. Lightning has killed multiple visitors there. Park staff warn storms can form in minutes. Fact 160. The Drowned Graveyard of Boone Lake. When Boone Lake filled, cemeteries were supposedly relocated, but divers insist headstones still sit at the bottom, tilted in the mud, names half-legible through algae. The night air is heavy now. Every story feels like it clings to the ridges, refusing to leave, carried forward by wind and water long after the people are gone. The mountains don't sleep. Even when the world below lies quiet, the Appalachians keep their own hours. Their silence is never empty. It's filled with memories, whispers, and things that move when no one's watching. Fact 161. The Phantom Campfire. Rangers sometimes report seeing the flicker of firelight deep in the woods. When they arrive, there's only cold ash and no sign of visitors. Fact 162. The Cursed Lake of Clater. Fishermen tell of shadows swimming beneath their boats at Clater Lake, larger than any known fish. Divers describe feeling as if something brushed against them, something with hands. Fact 163. The Blood Moon Murders. Old reports from Appalachian towns describe killings that happened only during blood moons. Families whispered that the murderer was possessed by something older than man. Fact 164. The Fog That Blinds. Appalachian fog can roll in so thick you can't see your own hands. Drivers have plowed into trees, hikers have walked off cliffs, all swallowed in the same gray curtain. Fact 165. The bridge collapse of Point Pleasant. The Silver Bridge fell in 1967, killing dozens. Many locals connected the tragedy to sightings of the Mothman in the months before. Whether coincidence or curse, the valley never forgot. Fact 166. The Drowned Holler of Helton. Floodwaters once swallowed an entire hollow in Kentucky. Survivors claimed they heard voices crying from the water for days afterward. Fact 167. The Shadow Preacher. In parts of West Virginia, night travelers have seen a shadowy figure standing by the road, raising its hand as if in blessing. When headlights touch it, it vanishes. Fact 168. The Endless Knocking. Caves in eastern Tennessee echo with a sound like someone knocking from deep inside the rock. Cavers who chase it never find its source. Fact 169. The death fog of 1944. In Donora, Pennsylvania, an Appalachian mill town, industrial smog trapped in a valley killed dozens. Survivors called it the day the air itself tried to murder them. Fact 170. The Phantom Bride. On certain Appalachian backroads, drivers have reported seeing a bride in a torn dress standing in the mist. Some say she was killed on her wedding day and wait still for a ride home. Fact 171. The Cursed Tunnel of Big Stone Gap. Local stories say a man was sealed alive in a railroad tunnel collapse. Passers-by claim they still hear him pounding and begging to be let out. Fact 172. The Wandering Lantern. Along abandoned rail lines, people see lone lanterns swinging in the dark. Miners say it's a lost worker searching for his way home. Fact 173. The Children's Footsteps. Visitors to old coal camps sometimes hear the patter of children's feet in empty houses. Windows rattle, doors creak, but the rooms remain vacant. Fact 174. The Phantom Drummer of Kings Mountain. Revolutionary War veterans told of a ghostly drummer whose beat never stopped after the battle. Modern hikers claim they've heard faint drumming at twilight. Fact 175. The Poison Springs. In some hollers, natural springs run red from iron and sulfur. Locals once drank from them, sickening whole families. The taste of blood lingers on the tongue. Fact 176. The Haint Dogs. Some hunters tell of dogs that follow them in the woods at night. Dogs they don't own, with glowing eyes, silent except for growls that echo like speech. Fact 177. The Abandoned Amusement Park. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park in West Virginia closed after multiple deaths. Today, rusted rides still stand in weeds. Visitors report swings moving on their own, as if unseen children are still at play. Fact 178. The Endless Fall. Certain sinkholes in Appalachia drop hundreds of feet. Cavers speak of rocks taking minutes to clatter against the bottom, if they ever do at all. Fact 179. The Hanged Soldier. Civil War lore tells of a deserter hanged in secret. Locals say his ghost still dangles from certain branches, swaying in windless air. Fact 180. The Hollow Scream. Some Appalachian valleys are known for echoes that return not your own voice, but a scream. Shout once, and the mountain screams back. The deeper we go, the stranger it becomes. The mountains don't hurry. They let every story stretch into the night, like fog creeping down a ridge, until it surrounds you completely. The ridges roll on like dark waves, and the further we move, the more the line between history and haunting dissolves. These mountains keep everything bones, echoes, curses, and return them only in whispers. Fact 181. The Witch's Tree. In parts of North Carolina, a gnarled oak is said to have been used for witch hangings. People who cut its branches found them bleeding, sap the color of blood. Fact 182. The Phantom Soldier of Gettysburg's Edge. Though outside the main battlefield, Appalachian ridges nearby are said to host a lone soldier who walks endlessly, musket in hand. Witnesses say he salutes before vanishing. Fact 183. The Burning Holler of Monongah. In 1907, the Monongah mine disaster killed over 350 miners in West Virginia, the worst mining disaster in American history. Families said the ground itself groaned for weeks afterward. Fact 184. The Lost Girl of the Blue Ridge. Stories tell of a child who vanished in Shenandoah National Park. Searchers found only her shoes, neatly placed side by side at the edge of a cliff. Fact 185. The Singing Well. In rural Kentucky, an abandoned well is said to hum at night. Those who lean too close report dizziness, as if something below is calling them downward. Fact 186. The Phantom Canoe. On quiet Appalachian lakes, fishermen have reported seeing canoes gliding across the water with no paddlers. When they approach, the boats vanish into mist. Fact 187. The Cursed Hospital Wing. In certain abandoned hospitals, whole wings were locked after unexplained deaths. Explorers report cold spots and sudden smells of antiseptic that linger in the dark halls. Fact 188. The Witch Ball Lightning. Mountain storms sometimes produce ball lightning, glowing orbs that roll across the ground. Locals call them witch lights. Stories say if one follows you, death comes within the year. Fact 189. The frozen family of 1910. In the Smokies, a family of settlers was trapped in a blizzard. Searchers later found them frozen together, faces locked in fear, as though something had come before the snow. Fact 190. The Lost Patrol of the Mountains. During training exercises in the 1940s, soldiers disappeared in Appalachian forests. Equipment was later found stacked neatly, but the men themselves were never recovered. Fact 191. The Ghostly Fiddler of Virginia. At certain crossroads, people have reported fiddle music rising from the woods. The tune stops when approached, leaving only silence thick as fog. Fact 192. The Massacre Cave. In Cherokee history, an entire group of villagers was killed in a cave during conflict. Today, visitors say they hear whispers and feel cold drafts even when the air outside is still. Fact 193. The Phantom Headlights. Drivers on mountain roads sometimes see headlights racing toward them. When they brace for impact, there's nothing but empty road ahead. Fact 194. The Red-Eyed Beast of Pennsylvania. Folklore speaks of a beast with glowing red eyes that stalks cold regions at night. Descriptions vary, sometimes dog, sometimes man, sometimes both. Fact 195. The Restless Graves. Heavy Appalachian rains have caused coffins to rise from soaked earth. Families sometimes arrive after storms to find their loved ones' caskets exposed and shifted. Fact 196. The Coal Waste Flood of Buffalo Creek. In 1972, a coal slurry dam failed in West Virginia, unleashing black water that killed 125 people and left thousands homeless. Survivors said the flood roared like a living beast. Fact 197. The Phantom Rider of Route 11. Motorists tell of a horse and rider who gallop across the highway on foggy nights, only to vanish before reaching the other side. Fact 198. The drowned town of Shenandoah. Entire valleys were submerged when reservoirs were built. Locals swear they still hear church bells and see rooftops glinting beneath the water in summer heat. Fact 199. The Headless Specter. Multiple Appalachian ghost stories speak of headless figures wandering battlefields, forests, and even highways. Witnesses often describe them carrying lanterns in place of faces. Fact 200. The Eternal Flame Falls of Chestnut Ridge. In New York's Appalachians, a waterfall hides a natural flame that never dies. Scientists explain it as gas seepage. Folklore insists it's a doorway to the underworld. Half the stories are behind us, and half are yet to come. The mountains are patient. They've had millions of years to collect these whispers, and they'll keep them long after we're gone. The ridges have grown darker. You can almost feel the weight of centuries pressing down, the earth carrying its secrets like a locked chest. Every fact is another key turned, another shadow released. Fact 201. The Phantom Choir. In certain hollers, people claim to hear the sound of a choir singing old hymns in the distance. When they follow, the voices fade into silence and fog. Fact 202. The Mine Explosion of Eccles. In 1914, an explosion ripped through a West Virginia coal mine, killing over 180 men. Rescue workers said the bodies looked as if they were asleep, faces calm, lungs filled with fire. Fact 203. The Lost Hikers of the Smokies. Great Smoky Mountains National Park has one of the highest missing persons counts of any park in the U.S. Some vanish within sight of trails, leaving behind gear neatly packed. Fact 204. The Glowing Gravestones. Old mountain cemeteries sometimes show headstones that glow faintly at night. Scientists blame phosphorescent lichen. Locals say the dead refuse to be forgotten. Fact 205. The Phantom Stagecoach. Travelers in Virginia have told of hearing the clatter of horses and wheels on mountain roads, only to see nothing but empty dust rising behind them. Fact 206. The Centralia Fire. In Pennsylvania's Appalachian coal country, an underground mine fire ignited in 1962 and still burns today. Streets collapsed, families fled, smoke curls from cracks like breath from the earth itself. Fact 207. The Lonely Piper. In Scottish immigrant communities of Appalachia, stories grew of a ghostly bagpiper heard in the mountains after funerals. His tune never resolves, it fades before the last note. Fact 208. The Cursed Farm of Virginia. A farm abandoned in the 1800s was said to be plagued by livestock deaths and family misfortune. Neighbors claim the soil itself was cursed. Nothing grows there still. Fact 209. The specter in the mine elevator. Coal miners have reported seeing an extra figure ride down in the cage with them silent, featureless. When the doors open, it's gone. Fact 210. The Blood Rock of Tennessee. Near certain battlefields, rocks remain permanently stained dark red. Locals say the stones drank so much blood they can never wash clean. Fact 211. The 1970s Greenbrier disappearance. A young woman vanished while hiking in Greenbrier County. Decades later, her backpack was found under a ledge, perfectly preserved, as if someone had been guarding it. Fact 212. The Black Mist. Hikers in West Virginia's forests sometimes describe a mist that rises and moves against the wind. Step inside it, they say, and the forest falls completely silent. Fact 213. The Hawk's Nest Tragedy. In the 1930s, workers digging a tunnel in Gauley Bridge inhaled silica dust, developing silicosis. Hundreds died, gasping for air. Their graves were often unmarked, their names forgotten. Fact 214. The Ghost Dog of the Cumberland Gap. Travelers speak of a white hound that appears at night, guiding lost wanderers safely out of the gap. But others say meeting it is an omen of death. Fact 215. The Cursed Mirror. In an abandoned Appalachian home, explorers found a cracked mirror said to show faces behind you that aren't really there. It was removed years ago. Locals won't say where it went. Fact 216. The Phantom Voices of Mammoth Cave. Though mostly known as Kentucky's tourist wonder, deep sections of Mammoth Cave are said to carry voices miners, explorers, and native peoples drifting like wind in the dark. Fact 217. The Hatfield Cemetery. The Hatfield clan rests in the hills of West Virginia. Visitors to their graves report strange chills, as if the feud still simmers in the soil itself. Fact 218. The Phantom Wagon of Pennsylvania. Coal country folklore tells of a black wagon that appears on back roads at night, pulled by headless horses. If it passes you, death in the family follows. Fact 219. The Lost Town of Lewiston. When Norris Dam flooded Tennessee valleys, the town of Lewiston disappeared underwater. Fishermen insist they've seen rooftops and even chimneys beneath the lake on clear days. Fact 220. The Eternal Cry. On stormy nights in the Appalachians, some hear a woman scream riding the wind. Locals say it's a mother searching for children lost in the floods long ago. The mountains hold their memories close, and every time we listen, they give us another. Ghosts, disasters, and things too strange to name, they all belong to the Appalachians. And they all belong to the night. The mountains are old, but the deeper we walk, the younger their secrets seem, fresh wounds alongside ancient scars. Each fact is a footstep further down a path few dare to follow. Fact 221. The Phantom Train of Matewan. Residents of this West Virginia town sometimes report hearing a train barreling through at night, whistle blowing, though the tracks have been silent for years. Fact 222. The Vanishing Hunters of Vermont's Bennington Triangle. In the northern stretch of the Appalachians, multiple hunters and hikers vanished in the 1940s and 50s. Entire search parties found no trace. Locals still whisper about that cursed region. Fact 223. The Thunderbolt of Black Mountain. Black Mountain, Kentucky's tallest peak, has been struck so often by lightning that locals call it cursed. Entire groves of trees there are scarred and split like bones. Fact 224. The Moundsville Penitentiary. Built in West Virginia, this prison housed executions, riots, and murders. Today, visitors claim to hear clanging bars and see apparitions pacing empty cells. Fact 225. The Phantom Riders of Boone. In North Carolina, horsemen have been seen galloping across fields at night. Witnesses insist the riders wear no heads, only shadows. Fact 226. The Red Eyes of Logan County. Multiple people in the 1960s reported seeing creatures with glowing red eyes stalking hillsides. Whether misidentified animals or something else, the reports never stopped. Fact 227. The Mine Fire of Lick Branch. A mine fire once burned for years beneath West Virginia's soil. Smoke seeped through yards, choking children as they played. Families abandoned entire neighborhoods. Fact 228. The Phantom Fiddler of Shiloh. Civil War lore tells of a fiddler who played through the night before battle. Soldiers swore his tune returned after his death, drifting across fields under the moon. Fact 229. The Moonlit Woman. Appalachian backroads carry stories of a pale woman who appears in moonlight. She steps in front of cars and vanishes before impact, leaving drivers shaken but unhurt. Fact 230. The Oakdale Disaster. In 1907, an explosion in Tennessee's mines killed dozens. Survivors described smoke so thick it turned day into night. Families buried rows of men side by side. Fact 231. The Phantom Footsteps of Shenandoah. Campers in Virginia's National Park sometimes hear heavy footsteps circling their tents at night. When they shine lights, nothing is there but flattened grass. Fact 232. The Drowned Town of Hales Bar. When a dam was built on the Tennessee River, a cemetery was left underwater. Divers claim they've seen coffins and skeletal remains lodged against pylons. Fact 233. The Screamer of Washington County. Reports from Tennessee describe piercing screams in the woods so sharp they freeze livestock in their tracks. Hunters say it isn't cougar, bear, or man. Fact 234. The Hanging Bridge of Georgia. A bridge in Appalachian, Georgia, was once used for lynchings. Locals claim to hear creaking rope and see shadows swinging above the water on moonless nights. Fact 235. The Witch Cabin of Virginia. Deep in the Blue Ridge, a collapsed log cabin is said to have belonged to a witch. Visitors leave offerings at its stone hearth. Those who mock it report sudden illness afterward. Fact 236. The Phantom Ferry. On Appalachian rivers, travelers sometimes describe seeing an old wooden ferry gliding across, crewed by figures with no faces. It vanishes when approached. Fact 237. The Buffalo Mountain Fire. A fire once tore across Buffalo Mountain in Virginia, killing dozens of settlers. People say the mountain sometimes glows faintly at night, as if the flames never left. Fact 238. The Cemetery Lights. Mountain graveyards often produce ghostly lights that hover above stones. Locals call them corpse candles, said to predict a coming death in the family. Fact 239. The Phantom Miners of Pocahontas. Visitors to the old Pocahontas mine in Virginia have reported hearing voices and coughing in the tunnels. Some even smell coal smoke when the shafts are cold and sealed. Fact 240. The Endless Scream of Seneca Rocks. At West Virginia's Seneca Rocks, climbers sometimes report hearing a woman scream from the cliffs. Searchers never find her, yet the sound continues, echoing through the stone. The stories don't stop. The mountains are endless, their silence broken only by the weight of what they've kept hidden for centuries. And still, the dark whispers on. Every hollow seems to hum tonight. Every shadow moves just a little too much. The Appalachians are not running out of secrets, they're only just beginning to bare their teeth. Fact 241. The Phantom Voices of Cades Cove. Campers in this Tennessee valley often report hearing conversations drifting through the dark. When they investigate, the words stop, leaving only stillness. Fact 242. The Johnstown Flood. Though on the edge of Appalachia, the 1,889 dam break at Johnstown, Pennsylvania, sent a wall of water that killed over 20 people. Survivors said the roar sounded like the mountains themselves collapsing. Fact 243. The Vanishing Hermit. Stories persist of a bearded hermit who lived deep in the hills, appearing only at night. Hunters describe seeing his lantern far from any road. After decades, the sighting simply stopped. Fact 244. The Phantom Hands. Hikers in the Smokies sometimes report the feeling of invisible hands shoving them on narrow trails. A few have fallen. The mountains take what they want. Fact 245. The Mothman's Return. Though most famous for the 1960s, glowing-eyed winged beings have still been reported in West Virginia skies. Some believe sightings always precede disaster. Fact 246. The Drowned Bells of Cherokee Lake. When the lake was filled, a church steeple went under. Fishermen swear they hear its bell toll on stormy nights, deep beneath the waves. Fact 247. The phantom gunfire of Antietam's Edge. Though Antietam battlefield lies just beyond the mountains, echoes of musket fire and cannon have been reported drifting through nearby hollers at night. Fact 248. The cursed mine shaft. In abandoned shafts, miners sometimes reported hearing their own names whispered back to them. Some refused to enter alone after dark. Fact 249. The lost campers of Spruce Knob. West Virginia's highest peak has been the site of disappearances. In one case, a campsite was found intact, tents pitched, food untouched, but the campers were never recovered. Fact 250. The vanishing children of the 1940s. In rural Appalachia, entire siblings disappeared from a farmhouse during the night. Beds were found empty, windows open. They were never found. Fact 251. The phantom riders of the Monongahela. Boatmen tell of hearing hooves pounding riverbanks, followed by figures galloping across the water itself. Fact 252. The Allegheny explosion. In 1907, a dynamite explosion in the Allegheny mines killed dozens. The blast shook valleys miles away. Survivors swore the mountain groaned for weeks after. Fact 253. The Black Dogs of Harper Road. Drivers in West Virginia describe being chased by massive black dogs. The creatures vanish when headlights hit them. Tires sometimes bear claw marks afterward. Fact 254. The phantom fiddle of the coal camps. Miners' families often reported hearing fiddle music late at night, when no musicians were present. The tune was always slow, mournful, and ended abruptly. Fact 255. The cursed cemetery of Dillsboro. Headstones here are said to rearrange themselves. Families insist graves appear where none were before. Visitors leave quickly after nightfall. Fact 256. The strange storm of 1952. A freak storm in Virginia produced lightning that struck the same tree 6 times in a row. Witnesses said the strikes sounded like human screams. Fact 257. The drowned road. Some lakes hide paved highways at their bottoms, remnants of flooded towns. Divers say they've seen road signs glowing faintly in their beams, pointing nowhere. Fact 258. The phantom preacher's sermon. Church ruins in Kentucky echo with ghostly sermons, long, droning voices that stop abruptly when visitors cross the threshold. Fact 259. The faceless woman. Travelers report a woman in white walking Appalachian roadsides at night. When she turns, she has no face, only smooth skin. Fact 260. The bloody steps of Asheville. Old stone steps in Asheville are said to stain red after rainfall. Locals claim a murder took place there long ago, the stone forever marked. The mountains have given us 260 shadows now, and still they're not empty. The forest breathes, the hollers hum, and somewhere, something is listening back. By now, the Appalachians feel less like a place and more like a presence, something alive, something old, something waiting. These last stories begin to feel heavier, as though the mountains themselves are choosing which ones to let slip into your ears. Fact 261. The phantom child of Flat Top. Hikers near Flat Top Mountain sometimes hear a child crying in the woods. Searchers never find anyone, though some report finding small footprints that stop abruptly in the mud. Fact 262. The Cherry Pond Curse. Locals in West Virginia claim Cherry Pond is bottomless. More than one person has drowned there without bodies ever surfacing. Fact 263. The Screaming Banshee of the Blue Ridge. Folklore tells of a banshee-like figure wailing along ridges at night. Her cry is said to foretell death in the valley below. Fact 264. The Sodder Children Mystery. On Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia, 5 children vanished in a house fire. Their remains were never found. To this day, the case lingers unsolved, half folklore, half tragedy. Fact 265. The Phantom Panther. Though cougars are said to be extinct in Appalachia, hunters still report shadowy cats with long tails. Their screams pierce the night like a woman shrieking. Fact 266. The Drowned School of Claytor Lake. When Claytor Lake was filled, a schoolhouse sank below the water. Divers say desks still sit on the bottom. Some claim to hear faint school bells beneath the surface. Fact 267. the phantom stage lights. In abandoned theaters across Appalachian towns, explorers sometimes see lights flicker on the stage. Curtains sway as if actors are bowing to an audience long gone. Fact 268: the mine rats. Coal miners often spoke of rats fleeing tunnels just before explosions. Their sudden absence was seen as a death omen. Fact 269: the phantom hiker of Blood Mountain. On Georgia's Blood Mountain, hikers have reported seeing a man in old gear walking silently down trails. He vanishes before reaching the next bend. Fact 270: the phantom screams of Kingsport. Residents of Kingsport, Tennessee, once reported nights filled with screams from the hills. The origin was never discovered. Fact 271: the lost train of Thurmond. In the ghost town of Thurmond, West Virginia, a spectral train is said to roar through at night, rattling windows, though the tracks are rusted and broken. Fact 272: the cabin with no doors. Deep in the Smokies, hikers discovered an abandoned cabin with no windows or doors, just 4 log walls and a collapsed roof. Locals won't say who built it or why. Fact 273: the 1978 Prestonsburg bus disaster. In Kentucky, a school bus carrying children struck a wrecker truck and burned. 27 died. Survivors said they smelled gasoline for weeks afterward in their dreams. Fact 274: the phantom farmer. In old abandoned fields, hikers sometimes see a man plowing with a mule. When approached, both vanish like smoke. Fact 275: the Cave of Whispers. In certain Appalachian caves, explorers report hearing whispering voices in the dark. Some swear the voices speak their names. Fact 276: the Cursed Gold Mine. Legends tell of settlers who found gold in the hills, only to die violently before leaving the mountains. The mine entrance has never been found again. Fact 277: the Appalachian Death Crow. Some families believe that when a crow lands on your porch railing and stares, death will visit the household within a week. Fact 278: the Phantom Ferry of the Ohio. Boaters claim to see an old wooden ferry on foggy nights, crewed by shadowy figures. It fades into mist when approached. Fact 279: the phantom gunfire of Gettysburg's Edge. Along ridges near the battlefields, travelers still report hearing gunfire echoing through the valleys long after the soldiers are gone. Fact 280: the Weeping Willow. In certain graveyards, willow trees drip sap that looks like tears. Families say it means the spirits buried below are restless. The mountains have given us 280 pieces of themselves. Each one feels like a stone stacked on your chest, heavy, unshakable. Still, the Appalachians aren't done. The fire has burned low. The mountains lean close now, as if to speak directly into your ear. These are the last stories, the final fragments of the Appalachians' long, haunted memory. Fact 281: the Phantom Girl of Stone Mountain. Visitors sometimes see a barefoot girl standing near the trails at dusk. She waves, then vanishes into the trees without leaving tracks. Fact 282: the Crying House of Kentucky. An abandoned farmhouse in eastern Kentucky is said to drip water from its walls when storms approach, as if the house itself is weeping. Fact 283: the Phantom Marchers. Entire groups of hikers have reported hearing the synchronized tramp of boots in foggy valleys, like an invisible army moving through the mist. Fact 284: the Gauley Bridge Curse. Workers who dug the Hawk's Nest tunnel without protection inhaled deadly dust. Hundreds died. Locals believe their spirits still linger, coughing in the hollers. Fact 285: the Phantom Horse Cart. On Appalachian roads, travelers tell of hearing the rattle of horse-drawn carts behind them. When they step aside to let it pass, nothing comes. Fact 286: the mine collapse of Scotia. In 1976, explosions at the Scotia mine killed 26 men. Rescue workers swore they heard pounding deep below, long after all were thought dead. Fact 287: the Woman in Black. Across multiple states, stories persist of a woman dressed all in black, seen standing silently by mountain graveyards. She is never seen entering or leaving. Fact 288: the Phantom Fiddler of West Virginia. Hikers near old coal camps often hear fiddle tunes drifting through the trees. When they try to follow, the sound always moves further away. Fact 289. The Lost Patrol of WWII. During training in the Appalachian Hills, an entire patrol vanished. Only their rifles were found, stacked neatly by a tree. Fact 290. The Phantom Farmhouse. Travelers at night sometimes report seeing a brightly lit farmhouse in the distance. When they try to reach it, the lights vanish and the fields are empty. Fact 291. The coal mine canaries. Canaries once used to detect gas sometimes died suddenly, their bodies found untouched. Miners swore their song carried on, echoing long after. Fact 292. The Phantom Children of the Hollers. Multiple witnesses claim to have seen children playing in abandoned mining towns. Their laughter echoes, but no tracks remain in the dust. Fact 293. The Mine of Lost Time. Folklore tells of miners who entered a shaft and emerged decades later, unchanged, while the outside world had aged. Fact 294. The Phantom Wagon Wheel. Along old wagon roads, the sound of wheels and chains can still be heard. Sometimes travelers see grooves in the dirt that vanish moments later. Fact 295. The Faceless Miner. Coal miners have spoken of seeing a man with no face walking the tunnels. He carries a lantern, but casts no shadow. Fact 296. The Phantom Riders of the Shenandoah. At twilight, horseback riders have been seen galloping across the ridges. Witnesses swear their eyes glow like coals. Fact 297. The Cursed Crossroads. Some Appalachian crossroads are believed to be places where people bargained with dark forces. Strange lights, shadowy figures, and unexplainable voices are still reported there. Fact 298. The Phantom Screams of Blair Mountain. The site of the 1,921 miners' uprising is said to echo with phantom gunfire and screams, as if the battle never ended. Fact 299. The Weeping Gravestone. A single gravestone in Virginia is said to produce red streaks after rain, like blood weeping from the earth. Fact 300. The mountains themselves. The Appalachians are older than human memory, their rock older than bones. People say the mountains are alive, that they drink blood, swallow towns, and whisper to those who dare to walk alone at night. And that's 300 shadows, stacked like stones into the dark spine of Appalachia. Ghosts and tragedies, curses and whispers, floods and fires, the mountains keep them all. Now, as you rest, the ridges fade back into silence. The night carries their stories away, like fog slipping down a hollow. Sleep, while the Appalachians keep their watch.